he sucks at public speaking. And guess what he's gonna do? He's gonna start a YouTube channel for my future kids. Don't even have a girlfriend. This guy is like a decade away from even thinking about having kids. So for kids, if you're still listening, emergency, emergency! Ah, how, emergency! Wait, hold on. Are you okay? Calm down. It's all gonna be good. Tell me what happened. You don't know what this guy's doing, okay? I know a guy, you see? Like, he's the biggest introvert ever, okay? Like, and you know what's even worse? He sucks at public speaking. What do you mean? Like, listen. Whenever he does public speaking, he sweats so much, his heartbeat is out of control. He has chicken legs, and he overthinks everything. He thinks he's gonna mess up. He walks around in circles all the time. He goes to the bathroom so many times because he's just so scared of speaking in front of people. Oh, so why? Okay, so what about it? And guess what he's gonna do? He's gonna start a YouTube channel, and he's gonna make a YouTube video. What? Isn't that just like 1,000 times worse? Exactly, what is he thinking? What? Yep, that guy's me, man. Yep, I'm going to make my first YouTube video. About what? You might be wondering, like, why now? Why does this guy who sucks at public speaking and scared the hell out of him do something like this all of a sudden? You want to know? Ready? Here goes the drum roll. Ah! For my future kids. What you say? Yep, you heard me right. I said for my future kids. But you're 20. You don't even have a girlfriend yet, and you don't even have a job. You don't even have a degree. You can't even live independently. What are you saying? Wait, hear me out, okay? Hear me out. But like, listen, man. Like, you're not even gonna get a girlfriend in the next 5 years, probably. Okay, go get a job, live independently, okay? Earn some money first. Okay, I get you, man. I know it sounds kind of crazy. This guy is like a decade away from even thinking about having kids. But, you see, hear me out. You see, here's the problem. Many people, these days, they still want to have kids for whatever reason, And, what do they think about? They want to provide everything for their kid, Top quality education, a huge house in an area with all the best facilities, the best hospitals, the best schools, the best food. They want to give them the best clothes, They want maybe a villa in the beachside or the countryside, Or, what's the best thing? A huge birthday party every single time for their birthday. And what do you need for all of those? You need money. So that's why everyone is trying to earn as much as they can, get the best job they can, best education, whatever, so that once they have all the money they need, they can give their kids all of those things, and then their kid can be the most successful kid ever, right? But those are very, very important. It's probably the most important thing. But you see, here's the thing. How many of you guys think about this? What kind of parent do you want to be for your kids? What kind of parent do you want your kids to have while they're growing up? What kind of relationship do you want to have with them? What do you want them to feel? What kind of memories do you want to have with them? And how do you help them to be the best versions of themselves so that they can thrive in whatever they choose to do, and so that they can one day show their love for their kids in the future one day? And so, this massive introvert, 71% the last 2 times he did the personality test, peak 84%, okay, has decided to dedicate this video for his potential future kids if he ends up having kids in the future. And so now, I'm going to convey to my kids these 3 big things that I want to tell them as a potential father. And so from now on, I'm going to speak as if you are my kid one day. So here we go, son or daughter. These are the 3 things that your future dad wants to tell you right now in 2026 when he's 20. All right, ready? Okay, first one. So what does your dad want to do when, he has you guys? One, he wants to do so many things with you. He wants to film all the crazy stuff with you. He wants to film me doing sports, music, ordinary house things, eating, traveling, going to places, and even training TikTok challenges, dances, and games with you guys. He wants to do all of this with you guys, okay? And he wants to film all of these so that he can record it, and so that in the future, when you guys grow up, you can always go back to these and we can watch these together, laugh together, Like we have all these memories stored. Like for the most part, how I record my life was just writing it all down, taking pictures and just putting them in a slideshow. Right, that's all cool and stuff, but those are static, What I want to do when I revisit my time that I have spent with you guys is I want to hear your voices. I want to hear your laughter. I want to see in live action what we were doing and our thoughts back then. And we want to be able to listen to it, not just read it, or just see it in just one picture frame. I want to hear all of these and see all of these and have these recordings, So that's what I want to do. I also want to use this as an opportunity to do something with you, create something with you guys, deepen the bond with you guys, so that you can feel like as a dad, I am someone who is genuinely fun to be around and someone you can let loose with, Even when you guys get older, I want to be a parent that makes you guys feel safe, letting your inner child out. And, the most important thing to me when you guys grow up and, start your own lives is I want to continue to be a lifelong friend to you guys. So by doing this, I believe that we can always create new memories together and have an exciting way, and not just static, but on top of those, an exciting way to record our lives together and to share this not just to ourselves and our family, but to our friends and all the wider community, all the friends, mutuals and stuff. And another thing about this is that, as a massive introvert myself, most of my friends will agree that this guy is on paper a very quiet person, very shy, reserved, thinks a lot in his head but doesn't speak a lot, and then only talks about deep stuff that interests him, Someone who just loves alone time and is just a big introvert, okay, But, it's 70% introvert, there's still a 30% left, it's like a pie chart, right? Like most of it is introvert, but you got a 30% left that's still extrovert, Like you can't forget that is a core part of me too, But it's just, for whatever reason, right? It might be the way I approach my friends back then, right here, right now, or my initial impressions, how I start a relationship with people. Most of the time, people just don't bring that dog out of me, Like, it's just the time, place, environment, situation, and just place even. There's not many chances for me to show off my dogginess, basically. Like, you want to let the dogs loose, but it just doesn't feel right, And so, personally for me, your father, he always, throughout most of his life, felt that showing his funny side and his inner crazy child is something that he kind of struggled with. And there's many reasons for that. It could be judgment, scared of ruining his social image that he has worked so hard to create. He might come off as too strong to others, to his introverted friends. They might just view him completely differently. They might just get the ick and be like, what is this guy? I thought this guy was, part of us. Now this guy is just being a crazy ass dog. Like, what is this guy, And your dad has tried to do this a bit sometime in the past, and it created some conflicts, some misunderstandings, and he did regret doing this. So this is something that your dad also struggles with and wants to practice more of, right? He wants to he's still the mature one when he's with you guys, when you guys are still kids, but he wants to be a fun guy, right? A happy guy. He wants to let the dogs loose when he's with you guys, He wants to be that kind of person, and he wants to bring that out of you too. He wants to be a person where you can feel that you can be anything you want, even the craziest person. If you want to scream at the top of your lungs and do all these crazy dance moves or whatever, I am a safe person to do it with. And I am also someone who wants to do it with you guys. So that is, not only something that I want to do with you guys, my future kids, but something that your dad right now also wants to do with himself, so that he can have fun with himself, like he can happily do life by himself. And then he can do that with his friends, then his close friends, wider community, and then his future partner, which is hopefully your wife, and now you guys, right? It's like a spectrum. Like you start low and you work your way up until I have you guys as my kids. Like if I can't even do this when I'm by myself, right? Why would I be able to do this with you guys and my kids? Like I'm not just gonna suddenly have kids and then suddenly just turn into this person who can comfortably show all sides of me, right? Both my introverted side and my extroverted side, right? It needs to start with me and then my friends, and then you need to, slowly go up the ranks. You know what I mean? So, this is one of the reasons why by doing this video, I am starting to practice showing this other side of me that very few people ever get to see. And I feel like this 30% of me is so important to me as well, that I just feel it's such a shame if I don't try to show this more and be more comfortable with it. Not just to my friends right now and people that I meet later, but also to you guys as my kids and my future wife, I want to be a happy, fun household. That's basically it. And then the second reason why I'm doing this video, now this is a bit more serious now, you see. I want to be a dad whom you feel like you can safely and comfortably have deep, serious conversations with, where you can be very vulnerable with just about everything, really. This is something that I personally struggle, throughout most of my life. You see, kids, sometimes when people grow up in environments where this is not actively encouraged, this is not actively supported, it can be quite hard to do this with your kids when they're growing up. They haven't experienced any of this, or they never practiced this, or they never thought this was something important. Like in the past, many people, when they wanted to be vulnerable with their parents, when they wanted to share their struggles, their emotions, stuff like that, they could be met with a lot of things that could really seriously affect them. Like, for example, one from the top of my head, I can be like, hey, mom, dad, I come from school. I have some troubles. I have some emotional things that I want to share with you, and I'm kind of struggling, and I want to talk to you guys about it. What you say? You have trouble? Hey, son, listen. I work 12 hours a day. My back is sore. My hands are sweaty and bloody. I can barely have enough money for myself because everything's going to you. I'm doing a job I absolutely hate, and I hope I could retire one day very soon. I have all these massive problems myself, and you tell me you have problems at school? Do you know how lucky you are to be at school right now? Like, God, I wish I was in your position, man. Like, I would be so free. I would have no troubles, okay? You want to switch lives with me? Come on, man. Just go study, man. Like, push through it like a real man, Like, you don't want to be where I am right now. So, something like that. Like, from the top of my head, like, easily a parent could just say that, right? So, and obviously there's many other ways parents can react to that. Either way, as many of you guys could relate to, this might be something that is not actively promoted while you were growing up, something that you didn't practice a lot, something you never felt comfortable doing, and it could be for many reasons, right? Like, people might have invalidated your feelings, deemed them as not as important, or just thought you were an idiot for feeling these things when they were no big deal. They might have responded harshly, didn't validate you and made you feel absolute crap just for expressing your feelings and your struggles. Like, it creates this fear, right? It makes you be like, gosh, I wish I didn't say any of this. Like, if I didn't say this, I wouldn't call all this trouble. Like, we were happy, and then suddenly I express my feelings to you, and then boom, we have this massive argument. Like, what in the world? Why would I ever do this again, right? It's just stupid, right? So a lot of people, such as me, have struggled or just decided to not view this as something important throughout most of his life, something that he just naturally doesn't do, right? Because, at the end of the day, what I thought for the most part was I just had myself. I'm the only one who can regulate my emotions, the only one who can safely cuddle them and validate them, and the only one who can support myself in terms of emotional support and stuff like that. So that is why this is something that your dad has struggled with quite a bit throughout his life. But I don't want that to happen to you guys with me as your dad. I want you guys to feel safe, comfortable when you're sharing these vulnerable stuff. I want to encourage you. I want to show you my care. I want to create like an environment, a supportive one, where you guys can just freely tell me almost anything you want, right? I want to make you guys feel understood, not alone. And I want to make sure that you guys know that I really believe in you, because I want you guys to know that you can share this stuff with me, and that I genuinely want to try and support you. It may not be the best way. Like, we might disagree, and we might, end up having, misunderstandings and stuff like that. But I want you to, at the very least, believe or feel like that as a dad, I am someone you can turn to if you struggle with life in anything. I don't want you guys to feel scared. I don't want you guys to feel regretful or ashamed or punished by sharing these things with me. I want to create like an environment in our household where this is actively promoted, encouraged, and supported, as your dad believes this is something very important, and hopefully you guys as my kids believe that too. So that's the second one. So hence, by doing this video, right, and sharing more vulnerable stuff with people that I probably will never say in real life and never bring it up, it's me practicing being more open to not just people that I am very comfortable with and feel like I have a very deep bond with, but to just people in general, right? Like, these stories about yourselves, your past, your struggles, all that stuff, your vulnerable side. Yes, you should mostly share them to the people you trust and the people you're closest to. But, if you only constrict yourself to sharing it with them and you never share it with just other people who you might not be that close with, but you still have a good connection with them, right? I think it's a bit of a shame, At least for me, I want to be someone who can share parts of this freely with other people. If the conversation or the topic, it just comes up, right? I want to be someone who can do that. And so, hence I need to start right here with this video, right? And again, it's like a trend, right? You start with just me and myself being able to do this, right? I can freely do this if I just type. But if I record live, this is a bit of a different thing. And then we can go to friends, close friends, my partner, very important, right? And then to you guys as my future kids, right? So it's just progression. You gotta start with just you. And then when you can do it with yourself, then you can slowly climb the ranks, right? And another thing is when I type all my thoughts out, that's what I do whenever I have a lot of stuff I want to say. Often when I then share it with people, it's been months since I've basically gone through these things happen, And most of the time, I probably already figured stuff out, learned the lessons I needed to learn, and kind of moved on from it, right? For the most part, right? Like whenever I share, personal stuff with people, most of the time it's always things that have happened several months ago or like quite a while ago, and I basically have moved on from them, and I'm no longer searching for emotional support and stuff like that. I'm purely just having like a logical discussion with them. But I don't want to do it with you guys as my future kids, right? Like when you have a problem, I want you to immediately tell me and not wait several months, for example, until you decide then to tell me or your mom, right? And when you have a problem at school, immediately I want you guys to feel safe talking about it to me and your mom, right? And so that's also something that your dad right now needs to work on. Like instead of always telling people things when they have already happened several months ago, he is going to try and be more vulnerable when bad things are happening to him right now, right? So that if he can do this with his friends and future friends and potentially his partner, then I feel like, your dad can then do this with you, right? So that's my second point. And my final point, which is, I think, the most important one, is your dad wants to be a role model to you guys as a person who does not give up. So in order to explain this, I must tell you basically the 3 biggest struggles I had at university so far from 2024 to mid-2026 right now. The first one is academics. So in my first year of university, which was in 2024, I basically struggled a lot for multiple reasons. I had personal problems. I had problems with, things that happened in the past that didn't happen, very long before university started for me. And just a lot of personal issues. And I also had a lot of academic struggles, in high school as well. And it kind of carried on. Basically, there were many reasons why I struggled with academics a lot in my first year of university. And I had no motivation to work really hard, right? To put it simply, I didn't really have much of a drive, a personal reason, much motivation. I didn't feel very happy at all, for the most part that year, in terms of everything. And so, your dad in his first year of university didn't really try hard at all in anything he did, right? So what happens when a person doesn't really try hard in his courses at university? Well, he fails some papers. Yes, your dad, first year university, he failed some papers. First semester he averaged like a B, and then second semester he got some A's, but he also did fail some papers that were very hard, and you cannot do well in them if you don't consistently study. And your dad didn't do that for multitude of reasons that I just said. The second biggest struggle your dad had during university was friendships, right? And it was something that he struggled with basically his whole life, for many reasons as well. I'm not gonna go too deep into it, but to put it very simply, like throughout his life and especially at university, and it carried on at university, your dad's just really bad with people, to be honest with you. Like, he's just really bad, okay? Like, not just from like a social anxiety point of view and with strangers and in social context, but even with his friends, right? Your dad always finds a way to have big misunderstandings with them. He fumbles them a lot. He has a lot of conflicts with them. He doesn't know how to sustain friendships during adversity and have genuinely long-lasting connections with them, He just always finds a way to fumble it, to be honest with you, and he always finds a way to hurt them. Like, a friendship could be going really well for a year or even years, but then your dad just always finds a way to just fumble it all away. at the end of the day. Like, he just always does something, and then misunderstandings happen, conflicts happen, and then your dad doesn't know how to work with people. He doesn't have a lot of tools that he can use to navigate these conflicts with other people. And then, especially during university, he doesn't know how to sustain friendships, right? He's gotten a lot better at making new friends, but he does not know how to sustain friendships. So that's the second biggest thing that he struggled with at university. And the final one is self-love, right? As I've told you right now, like, he has many failures, regrets, and struggles throughout a lot of his life, and a lot of shortcomings, right? He failed to achieve a lot of the things he wanted to achieve, and he was someone who always over compares himself with others and measures his own worth based off of other people's success, basically. And obviously, and as someone who struggled a lot with friendships and faced a lot of loneliness in his first year of university, he had a lot of self-hate, basically. He had a lot of bad things he can talk about himself. He doesn't know how to practice self-love, and he can always spiral in his pessimism. Like, when you're alone and you're lonely, so that was basically my first year of university, right? Because I struggled so much with friendships, academics, and myself back then. I had no idea how to make friends and integrate in this new environment, and I had a lot of personal issues from high school that I hadn't properly resolved myself. And so my first year of university, it was basically just me by myself, very, alone, and basically didn't have friends, right? Like, for the first 5 weeks of university, he would go to lectures every day, right? In this big lecture theater. But guess what happened? Every single day he went there, he almost bawled his eyes out, right? Why? Because he always sat alone. He was surrounded with all these people who kept talking, and they just all seemed to have friends and their social life figured out, right? And your dad back then just didn't have anyone to talk to, didn't have people to sit with, hang out with, like, all that jazz, right? Like, so for the first 5 weeks of my first semester at university in 2024, basically it was just me for the first 5 weeks. Almost every day, feeling really sad, sitting in the lecture, because, well, he was constantly just thinking, wow, it would be cool if I had new friends, right? But he didn't know how to make new friends. And so from that time onwards, your dad that year never went to another in-person lecture for the rest of the year. And he never went to university unless he had to, right? So, for example, labs, those were compulsory, and your dad did some clubs to keep himself sane. But other than that, your dad never went to in-person lectures ever again that year for that reason, right? So obviously, when you're alone and you feel like you have no one to turn to or talk to about this kind of stuff, and you feel like the whole world is against you, right? What are you gonna do? You're gonna blame yourself. You're gonna hate yourself. You're gonna wish you were different somehow. You're gonna wish you were more social. You were more comfortable with other people. You were better at making friends. You're just better in general, right? Like, you just wish you were just this person that you hope to be. And you just wish you can just suddenly be this person. And then boom, all your life problems can be solved, right? That's what you think about when you have all these things that you don't have, can't achieve, and excited about, but you just can't do anything about it. So that's basically my third point. Something that I really struggled with was self-love, basically. But here's the thing. What did your dad do the following year? What did your dad do in his second year at university? Did he give up? No, he didn't. And that is the most important thing I want to convey to you as my future kids, right? Like, he failed papers, right? So his GPA is absolutely bomb. Like, he can never recover that, right? Like, even if he got A's in other papers that semester, it doesn't matter, right? Like, you fail papers, your GPA is screwed forever, man, okay? Like even your dad last year, he only got grades from like B and above. It doesn't matter. Your GPA is still fumbled, right? You can never do med, right? If you do med, you need at least like a GPA of 6. That's like minimum to even apply, right? If you want to be competitive, you gotta be like 8.5 at least, right? If you fumble papers, you can never recover that. You can never. Your GPA is always gonna be screwed. So, you guys might ask me, why didn't you just do another degree? Just start over, You can just erase all of this maybe. Just do a new degree, start new, do something that you might be better at, and just, it never happened, right? Like, sure, you fail, but, you do a new degree, maybe doesn't show up anymore, right? Or, but your dad didn't do that, right? He did not give up. So, in terms of academics, what did your dad do the following year and so far this year, having done one semester? Well, your dad's starting to go to lectures as much as he can, okay? Last year, he still struggled with this a bit, especially lecture times were a bit dodgy, like 8 a.m. and like 5 p.m. Those were like sometimes a bit hard. But your dad, last year even, attended probably like 70% of all the lectures he had. Even the 8 a.m. ones, okay? He still tried his best to go to them. And what else did he do? He started to consistently study for them. He actually had a study schedule. He knew what to do. He knew his shortcomings. He knew his struggles, right? Like your dad, obviously, right? Like having no strategy, study skills, motivation in the first year of university, he's gonna struggle at the start of his second year, right? Like I still struggle at the start of my second year, right? Like, for one of my courses at the start of my second year, I like failed at midterm tests, right? Because I had a terrible strategy. I caught up to all the lectures and I did some revision for it, but it was like a format that I never got experience with, and it was just, he didn't have a very good study strategy. He had one, but it was bad, right? So he fumbled that, right? But what happened with that course later in his final exam? He got like a mid 70% for the exam, right? That's like a 30% increase, right? He reviewed his strategies and he like updated them and got better, right? And so in that first semester, he got average B plus for his courses, right? And then in the second semester last year, he continued that trajectory, right? And he continued to improve his study strategies. He went to lectures more often. He started revision earlier. He learned his, shortcomings again. He did more practice papers and all that stuff, right? And another thing he did, he joined a study group for one of his courses, something that he never thought he was gonna do, right? And guess what your dad did? He got 2 B pluses and 2 A minuses. We're starting to get A minuses in courses that were way harder, and I mean way harder than some of the courses I did in first year. Because some of the courses in first year, you could have like a cheat sheet and you can write anything you want, double-sided, okay? Like, you don't even really need to study for those for the exam, right? That's why I got A's for those, because you can write everything in that A4 summary cheat sheet. You don't even need to think about anything most of the time for those. It was just, you got the answer on your piece of paper and you just plug it in and you just write it down. When you click on the multi-choice, that's it. Second year, no. No cheat sheet, no, like multi-choice is like a third of the exam. You have those short and long answer questions. Those you actually need to know your stuff. You can't just wing it, okay? You actually have to understand it, practice it, and consistently revise it, right? If your dad didn't do that, he ain't gonna get those A minuses in those stage 2 courses that he did in his second semester last year, right? And now this year, 2026, your dad went to like 80+% of all his lectures, like at least 80, probably 85. And he studied basically whenever he had free time. It was mostly study. He did so many revision sheets. Like I used up like 5 whole refill books, like probably throughout this whole semester. And a lot more past papers, a lot more revision. He studied more with other people. And guess what? he already knows that he got A plus in one of his courses, right? He already knows. He got like a 95%, okay? And for his other two courses, your dad is pretty confident that he at least probably got A minus and A for them, right? He's hoping in his final exam he didn't fumble. Yeah, so that's what he's hoping. But nevertheless, right? Like, even for those other two courses, the tests that he did, they were always at least in the upper quartile range, right, of the whole cohort, right? He never got a test result that was lower than that, basically, right? For one of the courses, I got basically 88% in both the first test and the second test, and they were all above the upper quartile. One of them, I was like almost top of the class. I was like a few marks away from the top of the class. And same with the other course that I did. I was about 3 marks away from basically the top score. It was like 84%, but the top score was barely 90%. So, your dad made a lot of improvement, okay? He went from someone who just barely knew what he was doing, barely knew any of the content for real, to someone who actually consistently studies and can achieve decent results, right? At least upper quartile of the whole cohort. And the cohort was like at least about nearly 200 people for one of them. And for the other one, it was like 300, right? So, your dad did better than a lot of people. And that's not too shabby, isn't it, right? Not too shabby, yeah. But the most important thing that your dad did was he found his own reason to want to work hard and study consistently, right? He found his own reason. And to put it simply, it was because I want to be someone who can work consistently hard because I chose to. I don't want to do it because someone else told me to, because I need to do this to earn money, to provide for myself. No. If that's the case, there's so many other degrees I can do that can probably earn me a lot more money if I just put in the effort, I guess. Like, hypothetically, right? If I were to do good in those degrees, I can probably earn a lot more money than whatever degree I'm doing right now, right? But your dad's still stuck with this degree, right? Why? Why? Because he likes it. Like, he genuinely finds the content interesting. He genuinely likes going to lectures. Even if he sits alone, it doesn't matter, right? He genuinely interacts, with the content, and he actively participates in it. Like, he actually, writes stuff down and talks out loud these concepts instead of just going through slides, just watching a recording, and that's it, right? And he actively tries to go to class as much as possible, not just because it's like a routine, a study routine, right? A way to have like a consistent lifestyle where I can consistently study and engage the content. It's also another way for me to be part of a community of learners who are learning the same thing and reaching a very similar goal, right? And it's another way to laugh with my peers and to have these memories together, right? All of these things made all this journey, academic journey this semester, and even like semester 2 last year, so much more enjoyable. Like, I genuinely enjoyed these courses for the content that they gave me, for the things I learned, the experiences that I had in my labs, and the people I interacted with, and all my lecturers, right? All of those combined made me really happy to have taken these courses, and it gave me so many good memories, right? So your dad actually genuinely enjoyed them, and he found his own reason. He found his own way to enjoy these courses, and not just do them for the sake of doing them because your parents told you to, or you just want to earn money for your future, right? Your kids, whatever, right? I found my own reason to do this, to work hard, to have this routine. Even though he could have easily given up. He could have just been like, I fumbled first year. Like, just, why did I do uni, man? Why should I just, my GPA is screwed forever. How about we just find a full-time job? I can probably earn a lot more now, you're not good at this academic stuff. Why would you do it, man? Like, why would you do it, man? But your dad didn't give up, okay? Your dad stuck to it. He kept going. He knew he could do better. He knows he can do better. And he knows he can do this. And so yes, your dad did not give up with academics, right? So that's the first one. And the second one is with friends, right? Your dad could obviously just say, you know what? I'm just gonna be a loner, man. I just suck with people. I can't deal with them. They can't deal with me. We just always gonna fight. There's always gonna be something that they don't like about me, or there's always gonna be something that happens that drifts us apart or tears us apart, whatever, right? Most of the friends your dad made, right, it's not gonna last more than a year. It's just there's always gonna be so many reasons that we drift apart rather than stay connected, right? You know, all these stuff, right? Your dad could just believe in all of that and just be like, you know what, screw friends, man. Who needs friends? Just, you know, me. Just be alone, man. Like, why would I bother myself with trying to make new friends, right? Did your dad do that? Absolutely not. Okay, at the end of his first year, he did not give up. Okay, what did your dad do from 2025 and continue to do in 2026? Well, first of all, at the start of 2025, he joined this thing called Summer Lab, which was like a program from CIE of my university, Center of Innovation and Entrepreneurship. What did he do? He worked with a group of people, 3 other people, for 3 whole weeks. And he, once again, learned what it's like to work with people actually decently, right? Talk to them, interact with them, and create something very cool together, right? And we did like a presentation together at the end, and we had a lot of good talks throughout the 3 weeks, even outside of the thing we were doing, right? And, you know, your dad also met other people outside of his group and made friends with them as well, right? That's one of the things he did. That was basically the start of everything for me, right? That was basically the turning point for me. Basically, from then onwards, everything was just better, right? What else did your dad do? Well, your dad decided to volunteer every week. He does this volunteering thing called Let's Talk to Locals, where I'll talk to international postgraduate students every week for an hour about a set topic, and he would just yap and yap and yap with them. That's basically what your dad did, okay? And he's continuing to do that this year too, right? So almost every week, he always had a yap session, to be honest with you, right? Your dad also joined more clubs, right? He did 2 in 2024, and in 2025, he did 4. He did a concert band, 2 choirs, and badminton club consistently, okay? Like even when it was tough, there were exams and tests going on, you know, he had a lot of things to juggle. He stuck with them, and he went basically almost every week, right? Unless he had the test on the same day as a rehearsal, right? So your dad stuck with that. And for one of the clubs, for one of the choirs, he decided to go to their welcome event, which was at a bar. And your dad never drinks alcohol. He hasn't drunk alcohol thus far in his 20 years of life. He never went to a bar before. He always has bad thoughts about it. But he decided to go because he wanted to meet new people. Guess what he did? He met one of the most amazing people he has met in his entire life at that bar. And he became amazing friends with that person, right? Throughout that whole year. If your dad didn't decide to just go for that, he would have never met him. He probably would have never gotten to be that close with him, right? So that's another thing that your dad did. And you know what else your dad did? He did other volunteering things. Even in 2024, he volunteered in the World Choir Games for a whole week. He was a choir liaison. He held the flag. He walked on stage. He did some other stuff as well. There are a lot of communication with, you know, my Chinese choir. I led a Chinese choir, and I basically told them where to go and led them to places they needed to be and all that jazz. And I worked along with another person who took part of the same choir, but like a different part of it, right? There was a chamber choir. That was who I was in charge of, and she was in charge of the main choir, right? So I had to work with this person as well. That's 2024 even, right? Even in the year that I said everything was terrible. And then in 2025, he volunteered at the Auckland Lantern Festival, right? He was a rubbish collector. He was a person who helped lost people. He worked in the lost information tent. He also was a guy who basically was a traffic person, right? He basically told people which way to go when they're coming in and out of the venue, right? He did a lot of stuff. right? And then in 2025, as I told you, I joined a study group. And this was with strangers, by the way. Like, we had this thing for our courses called Ed Discussion, where we basically post a bunch of stuff, ask questions, right? It's like a social media for our courses, right? And one day, a random stranger just posted they wanted to create a study group because they didn't have people to study with. So your dad decided to say, yes, let's do it. Even though I have never met these people. Like, they're complete strangers. I have no idea who they are. Like, most people wouldn't even do this, right? Like, why would you agree to study with complete strangers? But your dad decided to do it. And it was an amazing experience too. He got a lot of good study sessions with them, good interactions, and I think we genuinely help each other out, right? Yeah, and then in 2026, what did he do? What did he do in semester 1? The day before the first day of semester, he posted on Ed Discussion. And what did he say? What did your dad say? Your dad basically said, hey, I basically know no one. I am alone. I do not know anyone. I want to connect with someone and study with them and be different, right? I basically listed out all my hobbies. That was why I listed out all my hobbies, was because I wanted to be friends with them. And yeah, I basically said to my whole cohort of almost 200 people that I don't know anyone and I am alone, right? That's what he did then. That is crazy. Like, why would anyone, the day before semester starts, just randomly decide to just tell everyone, all these strangers, he knows no one and he's alone? Why would anyone do that? It's like the biggest fear of people who are alone and have no friends is to say out loud to their whole cohort that they know no one. Okay? Very, very few people do this. It's like the worst thing that someone can do. Like, there's so many things that can go wrong, right? Most people like me who are massive overthinkers, they would feel like they're just going crazy or something. Like, they're desperate that something crazy happened to them that led them to do this, right? But yeah, dad did it consciously. He wasn't drunk or anything. He was purely conscious. He did think about this for several days before he posted, but he still did it. And guess what happened? He again met someone absolutely amazing and has had many amazing memories with them, right? Like, all these people, and even in terms of friends in general, I also met a lot of friends from the Let's Talk to Locals program. I also was a lot more proactive in my friendships and in my courses, right? Like, lab partners, I would talk to almost all of them and try to initiate a friendship. And throughout most of his 2025 and even 2026, your dad not only was the first one to reach out, he was also the first one to tell them about himself. He was the one who would go deep first and initiate deep conversations to try to get to know them better. He would say yes to pretty much every hangout, even if he went with absolute strangers of that friend, right? He would catch up on them. He would ask them how they were doing. He would, do all the stuff. He would even make time for them even when he needed to study, right? But the point is, your dad was a lot more proactive with friendships. He decided to go for it, to be the one who sends that text, right? Like, a lot of people that, request to follow you on Instagram when you meet them at a random event, right? That's it. You're never gonna talk to them again, okay? You follow them, they follow you, but you guys never actually talk, right? Like, all of you I know have tons of people who you just met at a random event or something like that. You follow each other, but you never then talk from then onwards. And you might have interacted with them once or twice if you meet them again, maybe not. But your dad didn't do that, okay? Your dad, for most of the people that he, follows, and he decided to go for it and be the one to text them first, to initiate some sort of friendship if he felt that he could actually be friends with this person. And we have many similarities, right? So that's what your dad did. He basically carried a lot of the friendships. He sustained them the best he can. And yeah, he was the one who initiated most of the deep conversations. And yeah, sometimes it works for a while, sometimes it fades away when life gets in the way and it's too tough and everyone's too busy. Sometimes people just don't reciprocate. Sometimes your dad will always send quite long texts about most of his feelings towards them platonically and all the things he's grateful to them about, and want to initiate these interesting conversations to get to know them better. People don't always reciprocate. They're not always interested. They have tons of other people to do it with. So sometimes your dad, tries his best, but it doesn't work anyway. Or he could fumble and all of this is for nothing, anything, right? But the point is, your dad consciously put in a lot more effort in his friendships to create them, develop them, and to sustain them. Even though he still fumbles a lot, right? Even if a lot of things may not work out, if within a year you're still gonna drift away, right? The point is, he actually genuinely tried, instead of just being the observer in 2024 and just sitting there like a duck and just mouth shut and just looks like the biggest loner in the world and chose to be the biggest loner in the world, right? So that's what your dad did, and he continued to do that for the most part this semester 2026 as well. So yeah. And guess what? What is he gonna do next semester, right? For academics, he needs to be even better, right? Like, your dad needs to be even better. He needs to go to even more lectures in person, especially even when it's very, very busy and there's a lot of tests and assignments, right? Like, whenever I had a test in the week for one of my courses, I would almost never go to the lectures in person for all of my other courses, especially if they were talking about new content that wasn't related to what I was going to be tested on that week, right? But your dad's not going to try to not do that next semester, right? Your dad's going to go to even more lectures. He's going to study even more. He's going to revise even earlier. He's going to do even more past papers. He's going to study more with other people, hopefully, right? He's going to have better study methods, and he's going to try harder, okay? And hopefully smarter as well. And as for friends, well, if your dad needs to, guess what he's going to do again? If he needs to, he's going to post on Ed Discussion the day before semester 2 starts again. He's going to do it. He's going to proclaim to the world, okay, maybe he's not lonely or alone anymore, but he's going to be the one to say, hey, I want to connect with new people. I want to get to know new people better and make new friends. Okay, he's going to do that, okay? Because that's what your dad does. If he wants to have more friends, and build more genuinely good, deep connections, whatever, right? Your dad's gonna put in the effort. And finally, the third one, self-love. Well, your dad's gonna continue to work on that, right? Instead of shaming himself for all his past failures, current failures, and shortcomings, stuff like that, he's gonna be like, you know what? I'm not gonna, define self-love as, you know what? You have all these failures. Doesn't matter, man. You're all good. You're perfect the way you are. Everyone accepts you. You can be as flawed as you can be. It don't matter, man. Right? It's all good. You don't need to fix anything, right? That's not really self-love for me, or like genuine support, in my opinion. I'm also not gonna be like, you know what? Let's just run away from this. Let's just not deal with this. Let's just be happy with the good parts of me, right? Like, why would I even focus on the bad parts? Let's just run away from that. Let's just show my best parts to people, and they're gonna like that. And we don't need to work on myself or anything bad, whatever, right? Let's just forget about that. That is also not self-love, in my opinion. What your dad's gonna continue to do is he is going to confront those biggest insecurities and struggles and adversities that he has been through and potentially is going through right now, right? He's not gonna run away from them. He's not gonna accept them just like, just say, yep, that's cool, man, that's you, that's it, right? He's gonna accept them as in he acknowledges and admits that this is who he is. And then he's gonna come up with plans to work on them and to overcome those adversities and never give up, even he fumbles again and again and again, as he always does in life, right? Even if he fumbles, he's gonna continue to work hard on them, right? So for kids, if you're still listening, the biggest thing I want to tell you guys, basically as a dad, is whatever you guys decide to do in the future, whatever you guys go through in the future, I want you guys to have a role model such as me, of someone who never gives up, despite it being so much easier to give up, right? Like, it's so many things. It's so much easier to give up. Like, why would you not give up? Just pick a different path. Sometimes you do, but, just not work on anything. Just, turn to your friends, do things you like that are easier, right? Why would you continue to do the harder things to work on yourself and stuff like that, right? But I want you guys to be people who don't give up no matter what, and to keep going, right? Whatever you guys want to achieve, and whatever life throws at you. Like, man, in 2050, like, when you guys are adults, probably, like, God knows what happens in the world, man. The world is kind of crazy and messed up already. Like, 2026, there's war, and there's absolutely crazy. Fertility rates are dog water, and tons of issues, and it's just bad, right? Like, but in 2050, it's even worse, right? Like, right now, there's like a huge loneliness epidemic, right? It's absolutely insane. There's more and more old people just dying alone and stuff like that. Like, the whole world's a mess. And by 2050, all of this is worse. Like, I might not even have any idea what you guys are going through in 2050. Like, the hardships, experiences that you guys go through, I might not fully understand because I haven't been through them, right? And so I might not be able to help you guys even if I wanted to, right? But what I want you guys to do is to be people who never gives up, right? No matter what life throws at you, and no matter what you guys choose to do, right? And on top of that, I want you guys to be people who can comfortably work on that yourselves, and to share with others and help others if they're going through something similar or different, right? That is what essentially, like, the biggest thing I want to tell you guys, right? Because let's face it, whatever you end up doing in life, whether it's academics or something completely unrelated, sports, music, content creation, whatever, right? You gotta work hard. Like, no matter what you do, you gotta work hard. Hard work just looks different in different jobs. Some jobs you may never need to study, but you gotta be very brave. You gotta work hard very much on your body, or certain skills that you will never get in university, right? Whatever it is, you gotta need to work very hard. And no matter what career you choose to do, you're always gonna face massive adversity, right? Some of them I might never get to know. Like, if you guys decide to do sport or be content creators, I might never understand that, because as a guy who studies for the most part, he's not gonna have the same adversities as you guys will. So that's why I'm saying I might not be able to help you guys, right? So, but I want you guys to be people who never give up on that, even if you face the worst adversities in the world, right? And I want you guys to at least have someone who has somewhat demonstrated that in his life, so that you can have someone to potentially learn a thing, just one or two things from. And that's kind of it, right? So yeah, and as I said in the beginning, right? This guy sucks at public speaking. He just fumbles, trembles. He can't stop freaking out. So this video, again, it's like another way to try and combat that. To be like, even if you suck at public speaking, well, guess what I'm doing? I'm literally speaking to a camera, potentially posting this to the whole world. What better way to practice public speaking, right? Well, it's one way. So yeah, future kids, if you made it this far, thank you for watching. And hopefully, if your dad does want to teach you a thing or two, this is the biggest thing, right? As a person who doesn't give up no matter what life throws at him. And hopefully you guys can do it too. Right, so now I'm no longer speaking to you as my future kids. And yeah, and basically, to be simple, I just want to encourage them to be unapologetically themselves around me, authentic, and people who just never give up. And that's the kind of parent I want to be, kind of parent I want to show them, like, and also in terms of the things I said before in the video, and as I said already, as a trend, I can't just do this when I just suddenly have kids, right? I gotta start with myself. I gotta be comfortable with myself. I gotta practice the things I want to be able to do when I have kids with myself. Continue being the guy who doesn't give up, right? I gotta do all this. And in terms of the friendship stuff and like being the kind of person you want to be to your kids, I gotta start with myself first, right? If I can't even be someone who loves myself, like someone who can be comfortable with myself, showing myself and saying these kind of deeper stuff to myself, why would I be able to do it with other people, right? And then once I do it with myself, then I move to my friends, close friends, wider community, my partner, and then my kids, right? It's a trend. Like, I must start from myself. It's like, before you learn how to run, what do you need to do? You need to learn how to walk. Before you learn how to walk, what do you need to do? You need to learn how to crawl. Before you need to crawl, what do you need to do? You need to be able to move your upper limb and your lower limb. You gotta move your arms and legs, man. You got brain-body connection, right? If you can't even do that, how can you ever crawl and then walk and then run? It's like a trend. Like, you gotta start low and you gotta work your way up there, right? That's basically what this whole thing is about. Me saying, I'm gonna work on myself first so that this stuff can then show up in my friendships. And then if it can show up in my friendships, it can show up in my inner circle of closest friends. And then it can show up to my potential partner in who knows how many years, right? If I then decide to have kids with that person, then it can show up for my future kids, right? So yeah, that's basically it. This video is basically a proof and an oath that I'm gonna try my best to do everything I said this video, because these are really lifelong goals, right? And perhaps this is a form of self-love to me, right? As I said, it's something I struggled with, and by doing this for myself, potentially it's a way for me to show love to myself and to hold myself accountable and to do these things, even if it's so much easier to give up. And just say, screw it, let's just be in my comfort zone and just do whatever, right? Because that's what I have done in the past, like especially in 2024. I just basically was in my comfort zone the whole year and never, stepping out of it and just being confined to myself, right? Not anymore, dog. This guy, like last year and this year, basically went out every single day, okay? To uni and stuff, right? So, and it's not just me. Like, if you guys have struggles that you guys have, and you guys are like having a really hard time to go through it, and you guys are thinking about giving up, don't. Keep going, man. Like, you guys can do this. No matter what life throws at you, don't let it stop you from achieving what you want. Even if you suck at so many things and you just wish you were just so much better, right? Like, I wish I was so much better at academics or at making friends and sustaining them and, showing love to myself. Like, I just wish, like, if I could do all of that, like, God, that'd be so cool, man. But obviously I can't, right? I suck at all of those. But does that mean I give up? No. I keep working on them until I, achieve something that I want. Or I might never achieve what I want, because these are lifelong goals, right? You can always get better at them, right? Perhaps it's the same for you guys. Whatever you guys are struggling with. And if you guys do one day want to be parents and have kids, perhaps some of these things are things you could think about. Or if you don't agree with anything I said, perhaps this video could encourage you to think about what kind of parent you want to be, what kind of parent you want your kids to have, what kind of environment you want your kids to be in while growing up, what kind of family environment, household you want your kids to be in, what things you value that you want to do with your kids, what do you want them to learn from you, what kind of role model do you want to be for your kids, right? Obviously, all those, education, best clothes, house, car, money for tuition, sport, music, so they can pursue them, all of that, right? All of those are very, very important. It's probably the most important thing. But I would argue the next most important thing is being the kind of parent who can help your kid to be the best version of themselves. And whatever that might look like to you or sound like to you, perhaps you can start thinking about those if you haven't already started thinking about that. And perhaps you can start working on those now, starting with you and then your friends, close friends, wider community, maybe your partner, and then your kids, right? Again, it's a trend. Whatever it may be. It may be completely different to anything I said in this video. It might be similar, whatever, right? The point is, if you were a kid, what kind of parents would you have wished they had if your own parents weren't quite there? Or what, kinds of things that your parents did, you want to continue to show that to your kid, right? All of these things, perhaps most people don't think about a lot because, having kids is hard and hard these days. You can barely have money to sustain myself. Have kids is like, God, I gotta have a fortune to have kids these days. Even just one, dude. But, if you do end up having a kid, hopefully some of these things are also important and could aid in your kid in being the kind of person they want to be and achieving whatever they want to achieve in life, right? And yeah, that is essentially it for this video. And yeah, basically I just said a lot of my biggest insecurities out there to people who may or may not even care about me a single bit or even know what my name is. But hey, if this video helped you in any way or you resonated with it in any way, that's all good. And if you reached this far, thank you so much for watching. You could have spent this time doom scrolling, but you didn't. So thank you for giving me your time to listen to this guy yap for over an hour. And yeah, now you know a lot more about me. If you like what you hear, you can continue to follow me. Instagram link in bio maybe, or if you see me in person, you could say hi. If you like whatever this guy had just said. If you don't, well, if you reached this part of the video, I'm still grateful to you for listening to me yap for this long. And if you don't like me, well, adios. Thanks for hanging around and listening to this guy yap. I wish you the best in all your future endeavors, okay? And that's basically it. Stay tuned for more content or more yap sessions potentially, and see you next time, dog. Yeah.